I'm kind of nervous about riding the bike up on stage. The bike's a little awkward, and so am I, so, you know.
Discovery Group president Rich Ross didn't lie when he said American Chopper was one of the most popular series ever. Certainly, the members of that show will ride on that wave for a long time. What made American Chopper such a smash hit all these years is a no-brainer. The show literally drew in thousands of viewers. Despite being a scandal-prone family series, American Chopper beat other reality series to their game. Although their controversial life brought them immense fame, unfortunately, the family's interpersonal relationships have been rocky over the years. The strained relationship affected every family member on the show, and at some point, Michael, the family's youngest son, acted as a comic relief on the show and sometimes a mediator during the several fights between his elder brother Paul and their father. However, he stepped out of the show in 2012, claiming he wanted peace of mind and to avoid ruining his newly fixed relationship with his father. So, what has happened to Michael Teutul since his last television appearance? It will interest fans of the show to know that Michael Teutul still works at Orange County Chopper. Currently, he's the assistant general manager and runs the Facebook page for Orange County Chopper as the social media manager and spokesman. Although he doesn't seem to be interested in building choppers or having his garage, one thing is for sure: the family's entrepreneurial spirit runs in his blood. It isn't Paul Jr. alone who broke off to build his own business, Paul Jr. Designs. Mikey gave entrepreneurship a shot too. In 2012, he partnered with FarQ Products LLC, a company which offers consumers a variety of different homemade pasta sauces. Besides his regular jobs, Mikey has delved into other independent projects, such as owning an art gallery, which unfortunately closed down in 2013. He also created a YouTube series called Bum Society and Other Businesses, which hasn't been lucrative as expected. Nonetheless, Mikey seems more comfortable exploring his artistic talent because that side of him has been a way to go for him. Initially, his love for art was an escape from his struggle with addiction, but gradually changed into a side hustle for him. Over the years, he's done art exhibitions across New York, successfully sold off artworks on his personal website Wolfgang Gallery, and even collaborated with Graffiti of War Project, co-founded by Doc and Melissa Parsons. As impressive as it sounds, Mikey is creative. He previously got into trouble with his father over it. Paul Sr. considered Mikey to have been laid back, and his role as a manager was unpleasant to his father, who apparently wanted him to learn how to build metal instead of being stuck in the office.
Every job opportunity offered you in this place and you didn't follow through with one of them. Not one. You've had every single job. You're the only guy that has a contract to come in at 9 o'clock in the morning. How do you figure that? It's pretty obvious. You haven't followed through with anything in your life.
No, you just let the people who are in charge here with me and Paulie constantly.
It's obvious Michael was plain uninterested when it comes to chopper building. Apparently, his lack of knowledge and enthusiasm for metal building denied him of the spotlight, unlike his father and brother. It could have been worse, but thanks to his brother Paul, who took him to exhibitions and other public events for the show, he gained some real recognition and experience, which would later serve him as a PR. However, staying on the sideline didn't seem to bother Mikey, but his fuzzy and careless attitude, combined with his alcoholic tendencies, did not sit well with his father. The latter later ousted him from the show in 2009, after they both argued about how he had refused to take advantage of the chances he had to be successful in the business. Fortunately for Michael, he was able to work on himself in the succeeding years, patching up the crooked relationship with his father and eventually retaining his initial position at the shop. Talking about alcoholic tendencies, Paul Sr. is equally guilty. He revealed this in his book, The Ride of a Lifetime. He shed light on his 15-year-old drug and alcohol addiction, which ended when he went to rehab following a bit of advice from his wife in 1985. Somehow, she talked him into going into rehab, something he thought he wouldn't have done, Teutul says in his book. He wanted to have one last good drunk. So, the day before he was set to go into rehab, he got totally plastered, drank a half gallon of wine, a pint of brandy, and took 6 Valiums. While Paul Sr. ultimately stopped his drinking, his sons Mikey and Paul Jr. both had issues with drugs and alcohol in their young lives. Paul Jr. went to rehab at age 16, and Mikey has channeled his tendencies into creativity. Although the relationship between Michael and his father over the years can't be described as a perfect example, it's way better than what his father and brother share. Paul Sr. and Jr. have only learned to endure each other. Their relationship has never been the best over the years, and it worsened to the point where Paul Sr. didn't attend Paul Jr.'s wedding. Since things took a sloppy turn for the show, Mikey teamed up with his father to start another show through crowdfunding. During an interview in which they spell out their financial woes, Paul Sr. and Mikey also announced their intention to create a new Orange County Chopper-based show using the crowdsourcing platform Patreon.
Well, it's a live stream, you know, so it's kind of like Netflix or one, you know, it's you know, we're shooting it ourselves. You know, it's a little different than the old show.
Claiming it would give them more creative control. Attempting to crowdfund a creative project has become a well-known tactic in recent years. Sometimes, attempts to raise funds for a new project can only mean two things. It could be due to creative inspiration or financial needs. Apparently, we can all read between the lines that it's almost entirely due to financial needs rather than creative inspiration for the Teutils. The Teutils have never had issues with creative inspiration, so their choice of crowdfunding has to be due to financial needs. Isn't it evident that the financial crisis rocks the family business? Meanwhile, Mikey and Sr. struggle to define their unrestricted vision for the new show other than saying that they would be blowing stuff up and asking fans what they'd like to see. American Iron reported on what viewers could get for a direct contribution towards Orange County Chopper's new show. For people that pay $10 a month, they would get exclusive permission to show ahead of the general public. For the next level, $25 a month, they would get access to a 24-hour live stream of the shop, as well as the opportunity to live stream episodes of the show and participate in a question and answer session afterwards. For the Patreon level of $250 per month, they would have a monthly live video chat with Paul Sr. Their initial final was $6,000, and it's unclear if they ever reached it, although they did start producing shows which can be seen on their YouTube channel. Their most recent upload was about a year ago, and it's a 1-minute clip of Cousin Nick falling out of a ceiling and onto Paul Sr.'s desk, so it already appeared to be going pretty well. Well, not for long. Eventually, the Patreon account was deactivated for violating the Patreon community guidelines. It's safe to say, therefore, that this web series never came to fruition, no matter their earnest attempts. In 2019, unfortunately, Mikey did find himself the target of a federal lawsuit alongside his father, Paul Sr. They were sued by a photographer named Scott Gunnels for intellectual theft and ripping off his work for commercial purposes. Gunnels claimed he took photos of Mikey in 2013, which he subsequently copyrighted. The photographer accused Mikey Teutul of posting the photos on both his Facebook page and official website to promote apparel sales as well as artwork related to promotional appearances without notification or compensation. Gunnels revealed that he never permitted Mikey to use these photos. In February 2020, a New York court awarded a default judgment in favor of Gunnels after the father and son failed to appear in court. Paul Sr. and Mikey were ordered to pay Gunnels $258,484.45. It's unsure how the duo will settle their debt because aside from this legal issue, Paul Sr. had initially filed for bankruptcy in 2018, among other legal issues he's had to deal with over the years. He is far from being rich. Even before he went bankrupt, his net worth was somewhere around $500,000. After working for so many years, you would expect him to be wealthy. Unfortunately, that's not Paul Sr.'s reality. Well, it's uncertain if they have settled the court retribution, but if there is one thing this legal battle taught us, it would be how to be mindful of using other people's work without permission or compensation. Nonetheless, Michael did well for himself while the going was good. He successfully amassed a decent chunk of change from his appearance on American Chopper and American Chopper Senior vs. Junior. Michael Teutul has an estimated net worth of around $2 million. Though $2 million might not be a lot, it's still something to go by for a person that wasn't so proactive on the show. We won't be surprised if we discover that he has that much due to the mini pies he dipped his hands after the show. Paul Sr.'s bad temperament and vices contribute to the instability his children have had to undergo in their lives. His fiery temperament is undoubtedly ideal for inside the ring at a WWE wrestling match. If he didn't act belligerent towards his children, maybe the show would still be airing, and they would have made more money. Don't you all think so?